is what I do.
Right. I now understand, you know, I've had to interact with a couple of school directors.
Yes.
And you'll hear them mentioning watu wa public health wanakuja.
Exactly.
So you're the guys.
So we are the guys who do inspection and clear them for registration. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Are we doing good in terms of public health in our schools?
As Changamwe sub-county, we are trying, though we have new regulations. They just came out, I think, yesterday. So there's a lot to be done because the new regulation actually wants schools to do more than whatever they're doing. We have schools that are not in good conditions, and so we have to work so that they can be in better positions and our school children can be in a conducive environment for them to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
This conducive environment, even before we get to our topic, you know, I need to understand that position you're holding. What do you look into, for instance, if you go into a school and you position as a public health officer, particularly in the line of schools, what do you look to?
Okay. So as for now, since there's COVID, first and foremost thing is how are they prepared in terms of COVID compliance? So we look into hand washing, number of toilets, mask wearing, temperature taking, registration of the temperature for each students, and then now when you go to the classrooms, we look into the measurements of the classroom. How many windows does this classroom has? What is the type of floor? What is the type of roofing? So such things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And I also remember the time at which there was that long holiday, schools were closed, and there was that introduction of people used to have to come back to school.
Yes.
There was a bit of worry on how they will comply with the COVID-19.
Yes.
How has it gotten along with you? Do you see progress?
There's actually a big progress. Actually, people are more welcoming to washing their hands because we know children have a problem with washing their hands. But then since teachers have their own hand washing facilities and they're emphasizing the children in hand washing, so the kids have actually adopted. In terms of also mask wearing, children have understood the effects of COVID and how bad it can actually be on somebody's well-being.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. That is what we are discussing this morning, matters about... Right, we are taking a short break. We'll be coming back shortly.
Inspiration Strikes.
Chakula kitamu kinategemea na ubora wa mpishi. Je, wewe ni mpishi bora au ungependa ujifunze mapishi yaliyo bora? Tunakupeleka sokoni kufanya ununuzi wa bidhaa na kukupeleka jikoni kufanya maandalizi ya mapishi. Yote haya ni ndani ya Mahanjumati na Kingsman the Chef.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Right, coming back, we are discussing deworming exercise in schools, particularly this campaign that is out there. We'll be delving deeper into that. But to start things off here now, Habiba.
Yes.
When we are talking about deworming exercise campaign, there's this word deworming that comes from worms now.
Yeah.
And somebody might be wondering, what are we even discussing here? What exactly is a worm and deworming thing?
Okay. So if we can start by describing a worm is a parasite that depends on a human for its food and for its survival. Yeah. And deworming, it's actually the process of taking a dewormer so that you can kill the worm itself.
Okay.
So in this case, by dewormer, we mean albendazole for cases of worms. And if it's bilharzia, we're talking about praziquantel.
Right.
Yes.
You've mentioned a worm being a parasite.
Yes.
You know, where can we even find this parasite? Where do we get it from? Exactly?
So in cases of deworming and worms, you can find it in contaminated food, soil, fecal matter. So there's actually like a cycle on how these things move so that in the end you get infected by these worms.
Is it visible?
The worms?
Yeah.
First you start with the eggs. After ingesting the eggs, now when they go into your body, now they proceed into adult worms. So actually when you go to the toilet and you have the worms, some of them actually come out as worms.
Right.
And others come out as eggs. So for the eggs, you can't actually see them, but for the worms, you'll actually see them.
Right. Now, take for instance, now we are taking a contaminated food here, you've mentioned.
Yes.
How do I get to know that, you know, maybe there's the eggs of the worms here? Is it possible for me to know?
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know?
You wouldn't know.
Until once they get into the body?
Exactly. And
that's when I begin to know?
Yeah, after you start getting the symptoms, the signs and the symptoms.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, talking about this campaign, before we even get deeper into the deworming exercise now that you were looking forward to do, that you'll be explaining how we go about it.
Yeah.
This campaign thing, what is it that you're doing exactly?
So normally every year, as much as people are supposed to deworm twice in a year, that is after every 6 months, so we have these programs that are supported by the government. So they're normally done once in every year. Besides last year, because of COVID, we didn't do them. So this year we're having the program. The program will be running on 15th of this month. It's normally a one-day thing. So normally we train the teachers. The teachers are actually the ones who administer the albendazole. So we take the populations in every school and then we distribute the drugs to the teachers. So the teachers will be responsible to give their students the dewormers.
Right.
Yeah.
Is whatever happening in school also in line with the 6 month thing and 2 months and twice a year?
No, it is not in line. That is because the support we have is not much. But if you're a responsible parent, make sure your children is dewormed twice in a year.
So how often do you do it in schools now?
Once a year.
Once a year?
Yes.
So you make sure you administer the drugs to the, school, the children once a year?
Yes.
Right. At the end result, what are you trying to achieve in all this stuff?
What we want to achieve is kids not having worms, because there's actually a consequence for them having the worms. Yeah. Yeah.
And do we foresee a situation where we can have maybe our kids not having worms with the kind of surrounding that we have and our environment and the kind of, you know, our kids, they play here and there, eat anything?
Actually, it's not possible, but at least we can try by deworming them. You know, once you deworm the children, if the worms are there, you destroy them. And once one child has been dewormed and maybe plays with the other one and maybe they have dirty hands, so that ensures that the other child doesn't get infected with the worms. Yeah.
Right. The biggest debate out there, Habiba, is to deworm or not to deworm.
Yes.
Which one should we go with?
We should deworm.
Reason being?
Not even just, we're doing it in schools, yes, but even us as adults, we need to deworm, because you never know. We are always eating fruits from outside without washing. So you never know these fruits, where they were kept or were they washed or not. So in one way or the other, you might end up consuming the eggs of these worms. So even you personally as Shadrach, you could be having worms right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I be like this and still have worms in my body?
Yeah, you could be. Like, when was the last time you dewormed?
I myself?
Yes.
Can't even recall.
You see, now that's a problem. You need to deworm after every 6 months. Yes.
Right. Coming back to the deworming exercise now in itself, how do we go about the deworming? Is it necessarily that you be served that drug that you're talking about?
Right now, since we're doing it in the schools, and since it's a campaign and we have donors supporting this program, there's actually a specific person who gives the drugs. This is because you have to write their names. You have to know each and every student that was administered with albendazole. So they can't just be administered by anyone, only the people who have gone for the training. And it's because of also COVID, because the regulations, the rules, the guidelines that are there on COVID need to be addressed and looked into. So we have specific people doing or administering these dewormers in the schools. Yes.
Right. Which drug currently that you've been using in deworming? Which one is it?
Is albendazole, 400 milligrams of albendazole.
For the children?
Yes.
And if at all I, as an adult, want to?
Still, it's 1 tablet. Between the age of 2 years and above, it's just 1 tablet.
The milligrams are the same?
Yes.
Does it even vary with the kind of age and what have you?
Only between 2 years and above. But for this campaign, we are looking into school-going children. So normally it's between 2 years to 14, but then we find that there are children in school who are over 14 years. So even them will be dewormed. Yeah.
Right. Why is it the case that we only have that one drug that we all know, the albendazole one? Why is it? Do you want to tell me like there is no any other drug that we can use to deworm ourselves with?
There is a few. There are a few. Like there's albendazole, there's mebendazole. It depends, because even like pregnant mothers can't take albendazole. They have a specific. They have a specific drug, and when you go to these pharmacies, you'll have different types of deworming drugs. So as long as it's a deworming drug, then it's good to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, maybe there is a parent watching, and he's used to give the kid a particular drug apart from the albendazole one, and he says, "I'm used to give my kid this one, so I don't want him to be given that one." Is that a concern to you?
I don't think it's a big concern, because what I know is most parents normally take their kids to these public facilities, and almost or not every public facilities gives albendazole. It's known to be the best drug for killing worms. Yes.
So it's the best one?
Yes.
That's why it's the reason as to why you only pick the albendazole?
Albendazole.
Right. Now, let's talk about the training at which you're supposed to, you've mentioned that you're not supposed to administer the drug. Anyone cannot just administer. They're supposed to be trained on that.
Yes.
What involves the training? The training now?
The training involves first knowing what deworming is, types of worms that are there, the signs and symptoms, how these worms are transmitted, how you can actually prevent yourself from getting these worms, and then the other process is how to administer the dewormers in relation to COVID compliance, and also filling the forms that are there for later returns. Yes.
Right. So it's necessary and key to have the training.
Necessary and key to have the training.
Right. Now, how do we get to know that so-and-so has worms and is infected with the worms?
So
do we have things that I can see?
So you're asking of signs and symptoms actually of. So when somebody has worms, first of all, he or she might have abdominal pain. They may lack appetite. They might have some irritation around their anus. Then what else? Yeah, those are some few of the things. They may lack appetite. They might have a retarded growth. Yeah.
There is one that I normally hear mtaani, people saying, you eat too much, it's like you have worms. Is that even a sign?
I'm not sure if it's a sign, because a lot of people
You've mentioned lack of appetite, and there are people who have a very huge appetite out there, and so it's been said they have worms.
So actually it depends with your body. You know, when you have a lot of worms, now it becomes like a sickness. You know, you even like, you're moodless, you're just gloomy, especially for school-going children. And then there are those people who eat a lot, because the moment they eat and the worms are eating too, because they're actually feeding on you, they're parasites. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, there is need to kind of make people understand, like, whatever we listen out there, professionally and medically, some of the statements might be wrong and misleading.
Yeah.
So are you telling me, like, not necessarily that if you have worms, you'll be eating too much?
Exactly. But I think it's a good misconception when people think when they eat frequently, they have the worms, because they'll have the urge to deworm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In your own statistics, in your offices there, and the numbers, do you feel like people are deworming like it should be?
I wouldn't know about that unless now I go to the facility data, since we haven't done these deworming activities in schools since in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe if you'd have told me earlier, I would have given you a number of which we dewormed in 2019. But as for now, I can't tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking about deworming itself, there are those who feel like these drugs that you administer to children, particularly let's talk about children, they've got side effects. Is it true?
Actually, it depends. For most cases, with children who don't have the worms, they don't experience any side effects. But for the ones that have worms, they might have some some effects, but not like mild, just mild effects. Maybe they might experience some dizziness just a little bit, but then it subsides. Maybe stomach ache.
Subsides after how long? Days, months?
No, maybe days or a couple of, maybe just a couple of hours. But so far we haven't like experienced anybody with severe adverse effects due to the dewormers.
Any sort of allergies?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all, but it is advised that if there's any child who is sick in your school, you shouldn't administer the dewormer. This is because you don't want to cause a problem. Maybe the kid had something else, and then when you give them the dewormer, maybe the sickness proceeds, and then now the dewormer becomes the problem as to why the kid maybe got worse. So any child that is unwell, we do not administer the dewormer.
Right.
Yeah.
The biggest question that I got out there is that why is it that we normally feel nausea if we take these drugs?
If you feel nausea, that means you have worms. I'm kidding though. I think maybe the test is a bit, it's a bit not good for some people, though it has like this, it has a flavor, but for some people, you might see children vomiting. Yeah, so I think it's more of the flavor. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, the components of the drug itself does not play a role there?
I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm a parent and I used to take my kid to hospital for deworming, and now you're coming with this campaign again in schools, and let's say it does not pass the 6 months, you're bringing it in, should I allow my kid to take the drug again?
Yes, you should allow your kid to get the drug again.
Why
Because it's a campaign. So even if you took the drugs like 2 months ago, since this is a campaign, you have to take the drug again. It's more or less like polio, when you're having the polio campaign. Even if your child was given polio like 2 weeks ago and now there's the campaign, you need to let your child get the polio vaccine. So the same thing happens when it comes to deworming. Yeah.
Comparing the two kids, the one who was taken the drug during the campaign, just one tablet, and the one who took it at the hospital and comes back and takes it at school now. Don't you think he will have taken quite a huge amount of the drug and can have side effects in his body?
Not really, because there's a gap between the first time he took the drug and the second time. It's only bad when you take like 2 tablets within 1 day. But if there's a gap between the days, and like it was done in the facility and this is a campaign, then there's no problem. Yeah.
Right. So there shouldn't be any sort of worry if at all?
No worry at all.
Now, for instance, by any mistake, in schools, we know we have cheeky kids and picks up maybe 2 tablets and takes the 2 tablets. What should we do?
Honestly, you can take 2 tablets of albendazole and something may not happen. Nothing, you might experience nothing actually in your body.
Right.
Though, and that is why we train the teachers so that they're very careful and specific when they're giving the drugs to the children to avoid overdosing. So there is no, under any circumstance, you'll find a child taking 2 tablets during this campaign, because the teacher is the one who administers each child one by one with a spoon, one by one.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to tell me, or you're ruling out any possibility of such cases?
Exactly. No chances of overdosing. 0 chances of overdosing.
If suppose it happens now?
It cannot happen, because look at it this way. The teacher has the drugs and with a spoon. So the teacher comes, the student comes, the teacher registers the student one by one, gives the drugs, chews, and then the child goes. Another child comes in, does the same procedure. So chances for overdosing are 0, as long as the teacher is the one administering the drugs.
I'm trying to understand something here.
Yes.
It's like you're pushing for chances of overdosing, to be 0.
Yes.
Whereas in the same case, you're mentioning to me that if I had to take it at the hospital and I have to take it at school, there's no problem with that at all.
That is not overdosing, because at the facility, maybe you've taken it 2 months ago, and now we're giving it now after 2 months. That is not overdosing, because there's a gap in between. So the drugs has actually worked for 2 months, and now since there's a campaign, you have to take another drug.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is in the case of the kids now.
Yes.
Supposing I, as an adult, take the two pieces of the drug, does it have any kind of problem with me?
You're only supposed to take one. So even if you take two, for you as an adult, you will not experience any effects. Yeah, unless you have a lot of worms.
Right. Very true. So are you agreeing that deworming in adults and deworming in kids is one and the same thing?
It's
There's no difference?
There's no difference.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right.
Worms are just worms. It doesn't mean just because this one is a child and this one is an adult, the child will have a different worm than the adult. Though we have different types of worms actually. Yeah.
Previously, during the time at which you were doing this campaign in 2019, did you receive any kind of cases, complaints whatsoever, lamentations from the parents concerning this exercise?
No, we didn't experience any refusal, no adverse effects, no nothing. The program was smooth.
Smooth and sound.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, I would like to engage you, ladies and gentlemen. We are having quite a candid and soft conversation here, particularly on matters about the deworming exercise campaign that, of course, is set to kickstart. I think it's next week, that is on 15th of this month, where they will be rolling out that exercise in different schools about making sure that your kid, your child is dewormed, and of course we get to remove some of these worms in the body. But then now, if at all there are parents out there who seem not to take so seriously issues about deworming, and they assume and like, you know, it's not necessarily for me to deworm. Do these worms have an effect in our body?
Yes.
What are some?
So first of all, when the worms, since they feed on the food that we eat, yeah, so it might cause malnutrition. Yeah, so there's malnutrition. Then there's also anemia in cases of bilharzia, whereby when somebody passes out urine, there's some spots of blood, and then other people may pass out fecal matter that has blood. So this may cause anemia. Then there's malabsorption. This is whereby some nutrients in the body cannot be absorbed properly, and this is because of the worms. And then in kids, you might find there's growth retardation. You know, like the horse are feeding on them. So this child, you'll just see him like he's not growing, like he has a retarded growth. So these are some of the effects of the worms.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, if I'm a parent and I've seen all those you've mentioned here, should I even quickly rule out that it's worm?
No, you shouldn't.
What am I supposed to do now?
Take him to the facility. Take him to the hospital first. Because you as a parent, you cannot just judge somebody. Even I personally, or you, when you're sick, you can't know what your problem is until you go to the hospital. Though there are people who self-medicate, which is not advisable. You need to go to the hospital, then everything is ruled out, then the right medicine for the sickness that you have is given to you. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned self-medication here, and it got me thinking of a scenario. For instance, if I am, for instance, I'm an adult, and you mentioned of abdominal pains.
Yes.
Supposing I have got this abdominal pains time in, time out, and I decide to go and pick myself a drug from the chemist. That, of course, is in relation to deworming here. Is it wrong with that?
If you haven't dewormed for 6 months, then it's fine. Yeah. You know, a stomach upset can be caused with a lot of things. It could be dysentery, it could be an amoebic infection, it could be food poisoning. So it's actually good to rule out. You can actually deworm, then if you see like it's still proceeding, then you'll still have to go to the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is a need for going to the hospital.
Yes, there is a
for
need.
the self-medication.
Exactly.
Very true. Right, ladies and gentlemen, now time for us to take our very first break here on the morning discussion. Remember, whatever we're discussing is solidly about deworming exercise campaign, where we are making sure to sensitize you, educate you on how you can go about this, how you can help yourself in trying to deworm, and let alone also some of these complaints and myths and misconceptions that we've had. That those of you who feel like eating too much is one over the kind of reasons that will make you think you have worms. That has been ruled out by my guest here, saying But it's not necessarily that you will be having one or not. That is what we are discussing. Remember, we're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing on the prevention measures that we can also prevent ourselves from getting this one. There is a lot that you can do as a society, as a parent, as a teacher out there, making sure that we do not expose ourselves and our children in getting these worms. Allow me to take a short break. I'll be coming back in a moment.
Jamani, madege mengi mpaka hili nalo dege. Dege tena dege lisoliwa.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Shiza Shamamba, Janvier Shamamba.
Kuita polingo eleki nango ya likere. Aozo kisingana montemeske pote koza la se.
Boris Mkanye. Chuma. Didier Pereira. Boris Mkanye. Chuma. Didier Pereira. Nasser. Nasser. Tutu Roba. Nasser. Chuma. Nasser. Tout le monde Nasser. Aimé Salo. Mais surtout Nasser. Nasser. Sam Pengombe leader. D'ailleurs shop. Et pour le corps qui sous qui s'allume.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes. Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Utakubaliana nami kuwa wapenzi ambao hawajafanikiwa kubarikiwa na watoto huhangaika mno kabla ya kupata suluhu. Bisara na Sieku kutoka hapa Kenya na Hens kutoka Ujerumani wanatuelezea jinsi walivyonasuliwa bila panda shuka na mapito mengi.
Tulipokutana mara kwanza, yeye alikuwa anataka mtoto na pia mimi nilikuwa nataka kwa fight like 1 year. Hatukufanikiwa. Akaniambia the best way tuende kwa daktari tukaangaliwe. Tukakaa kuangalia tuenda wapi, tukapata tukaambiwa tuende Makini.
I come from Germany, near Frankfurt. I'm very happy to stay here on this place, in Makini Clinic. My body is full with energy since I have the baby. I must say thank you to the doctors for Makini. And I will do the best for the life, for Sarah, my wife, and for my daughter, Hannah.
Walikuja hapo wakiwa na matatizo ya kupata mtoto. Mama alikuwa na matatizo ya hormone imbalance. Na baada ya kupata matibabu ya hapa Makini Clinic, Mwenyezi Mungu amejalia na wameweza kupata baby girl, ndio huyu, very beautiful, very healthy. Tunamshukuru sana Mwenyezi Mungu kwa miujiza yake.
Makini HABIB Clinic, tumaini la afya yako.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
See, in fact, you are everything I ever wanted in a woman.
I think your husband is having an affair.
I'm so fine this marriage.
See, these things happens in Hollywood movies.
I've discovered that you're a witch.
Why don't you have a single drop of human sympathy?
The fact that I've been polite with you all these years doesn't mean I'm afraid of you.
You better take care to whoever that is responsible for that pregnancy. We don't have a bastard in our family.
I will not be here and allow that useless girl tear my family apart.
Point of correction. I am not abandoning my own family.
What is it? Shh! Frank, you won't sleep with me, your wife in the house. You won't sleep with me in the office. How do you want me to get satisfaction? How do you expect us to have another child?
Don't you know this is not?
Oh, please don't tell me that!
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Don't tell me you're scared. There's nothing safer than a dark alley.
What? Really? A con, baby?
But the mayor wants to destroy everything. I got bigger plans and trees. And amusement! The way to get through to you is with this. Have a dumpling. Oh, got it.
My name is Mr. Fang. I was cursed with these big, adorable eyes and this fuzzy little body.
You know Raphael, and Raphael knows everyone.
Who said that?
We really need your help.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not like the best dragon.
Now, if something goes wrong, scream really loud.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Chakula kitamu kinategemea na ubora wa mpishi. Je, wewe ni mpishi bora au ungependa ujifunze mapishi yaliyo bora? Tunakupeleka sokoni kufanya ununuzi wa bidhaa na kukupeleka jikoni kufanya maandalizi ya mapishi. Yote haya ni ndani ya Mahanjumati na Kingsman the Chef.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Wala sehemu kiraka. Jamani, madege mengi mpaka hili nalo dege. Kumbe dege. Dege tena dege lisoliwa.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Shiza Shamamba, Janvier Shamamba.
Kuita polingo eleki nango ya likere. Aozo kisinga na motema eske pote kozala se.
Boris Mpani. Chuma. Didier Pereira. Boris Mpani. Chuma. Didier Pereira. Merci. Merci. Tutu Roba. Merci. Chuma. Merci. Tout le monde merci. Aimé Salo. Mais surtout merci. Merci. Sampe leader. Daya shop. Et pour le corps qui sous qui s'allie mouta. Papa nous vimaye. Papa nous vimaye.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes. Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Utakubaliana nami kuwa wapenzi ambao hawajafanikiwa kubarikiwa na watoto huhangaika mno kabla ya kupata suluhu. Bisara na Sieku kutoka hapa Kenya na Hens kutoka Ujerumani wanatuelezea jinsi walivyonasuliwa bila panda shuka na mapito mengi.
Tulipokutana mara kwanza, yeye alikuwa anataka mtoto na pia mimi nilikuwa nataka. Kwa fight like 1 year hatukufanikiwa. Akaniambia the best way tuende kwa daktari tukaangaliwe. Tukakaa kuangalia tuenda wapi, tukapata tukaambiwa tuende Makini.
I come from Germany, near Frankfurt. I'm very happy to stay here on this place, in Makini Clinic. My body is full with energy since I have the baby. I must say thank you to the doctors for Makini. And I will do the best for the life, for Sarah, my wife, and for my daughter, Hannah.
Walikuja hapo wakiwa na matatizo ya kupata mtoto. Mama alikuwa na matatizo ya hormonal imbalance. Na baada ya kupata matibabu ya hapa Makini Clinic, Mwenyezi Mungu amejalia na wameweza kupata baby girl, ndio huyu, very beautiful, very healthy. Tunamshukuru sana Mwenyezi Mungu kwa miujiza yake.
Makini HABIB Clinic, tumaini la afya yako.
Right, welcome back to the second part of our morning discussion. Definitely, just in case you're joining us, this is Good Morning Boss, and particularly we are discussing matters about your health. And today it's all about deworming. And by now, you should have known what exactly is deworming, how you go about it. And of course, we are still digging deeper into this matter, trying to answer some of your hard questions that you are trying to have, together with my guest, HABIB MOHAMMED, who is the Chagamwe Sub-County Public Works Officer, she's Public Health Officer, and she's here to dig deeper and explain more concerning this matter. Remember, as we proceed with the discussion, share your comments, share your experience. What are your questions? I'll be looking at them as we get along with the program. Habiba?
Yes.
The biggest question people are asking out there, why is it that you must go to the schools and give the drugs there? Why can't you just go around and give it out, you know, gives time for the kids to be taken to the hospital so that they can be given these drugs? Why is it necessarily that you need to go to the schools, you yourselves?
Okay. So the matter was agreed on schools because during the weekday you find the most population of children are in school. So administering the drugs in school would be actually easier rather than if the drugs were to be in a facility, then our facilities will be loaded with people. And not everyone would actually take their children to the facility for these drugs. Yeah, so that is one reason. Then the other one is children trust their teachers. So it's actually easy for a teacher to administer the drug rather than just a stranger at the facility giving out the drug. So the uptake is normally high in schools because the children actually trust their teachers, and also the parents trust the teachers.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens if at all a certain kid is absent at the day at which the drugs have been administered?
Okay. So what we have done, we have the population for each school. So the drugs are given according to the population in each school. So if the child is absent today, and then if the child comes to school tomorrow and the drug is still there, the child will be administered with the drug.
Right.
Yeah, so as long as the drug is there, they haven't returned them back to the sub-county, then the child will be given the drug. Yes.
Issues about storage, is it a problem and a concern?
Yeah, actually, yeah, storage is an issue. The drugs should be stored in a dry place and a cool place, not somewhere that is hot. You shouldn't put it next to detergents, just an open, clean place. Yes.
Right. Do you feel deworming can be a solution to some of the diseases that affect our children?
Yes.
How is it so?
Specifically the diseases that are caused by worms. In this case, I'm talking about anemia, I'm talking about malabsorption, obstruction of intestinal obstruction, I'm talking about retarded growth. Yeah. So once our kids have been dewormed, that means they won't be having this disease. Yeah.
Very true. Right. And if at all we are to look at the numbers, like you had mentioned to me, though you had not carried the numbers with you, do you feel like we have a certain age bracket that worms are so much into our kids with a different age bracket? Is it the case?
I feel like as long as somebody is a child, they are prone to worms, and this is because of how children live. You know, children, they're not ignorant, but children are playful. You find them playing with the soil. You find them going to the toilet and then coming out, not washing their hands. So actually, children are more prone to these worms than adults, because we as adults don't play with soil. At least we try to wash our hands, but for children, you have to remind them every time, like, you have to wash your hands, don't play with soil. Because you know now soil harbors these eggs of the worms. You know, we talked about passing out fecal matter that has eggs. You know, in cases whereby we have open defecation now, the feces mix with the soil, and then the same soil is what our kids will play with. Now you end up, the kids end up getting the worms through their hands, or maybe when they eat and the hands have not been washed properly. So this is how they ingest the eggs, and then in their body now they proceed to be worms.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that you've mentioned it's been taken by 2 years and above in schools.
Yes.
What happens to the other tender age kids? For instance, 6 months. We talk about 9 months old.
For this program, it's normally 2 years. Deworming is for 2 years and above. Yes.
Yours now.
Yes.
But also, we can't deworm the.
Below 2 years, no.
What do you mean? Kuna wale watoto wanatambaa, you know?
It's only for 2 years and above. That is how the prescription of the drug is. Yes.
In your own understanding, why is it so?
I feel like, you know, immunity of children below 2 years is not the same as for the one 2 years and above. And I feel like maybe the drug could be stronger for the younger ones than for those who are 2 years and above. Plus, you know, below 2 years, most of the time, these kids are with their mothers all the time. So mothers are very hygienic when it comes to their small children. So for them to be exposed to worms, the chances are very low, rather than 2 years who are crawling and playing out with the soil. Yeah, so I think that should be the right reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. Now, let's talk a little bit about the prevention.
Yeah.
You know, they say prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Now, the fact that we know we have worms and they cause some bit of problems in our bodies, and we can get them to enter into our bodies in different kind of ways.
Yes.
How do we get to prevent ourselves from not accessing these worms?
So we have different ways of preventing ourselves from the worms, depending on the circumstances. For instance, well, there are actually 4 types of worm. We have the hookworm, whipworm, then we have the bilharzia and the roundworm. Now, bilharzia is normally found in water, and the other ones are found in soil.
Right.
So now, for these that are found in the soil, so the most appropriate thing is avoid defecation, open defecation. Open defecation, this is whereby, especially it happens in areas where there are no toilets, you find people passing out stool like openly. So
especially in the slums.
Especially in the slums or in areas that don't have toilets. So there should be full coverage of toilets in these areas to avoid open defecation. Then children should avoid playing with soil, because soil is a source of transmission. You know, the child will end up playing with the soil and then maybe eat food without washing their hands. So they end up ingesting the eggs. Then we should also wash our fruits properly before eating them, because we don't know where they come from. You know, food comes from the soil, and soil is also a source of contamination, you know. Also, we should cook our food properly, especially meat products, yeah, because in meat we get tapeworms. So if you don't cook your food properly, you end up ingesting the eggs. And
what do you mean cook properly?
Properly cooked. Yeah, like you should cook.
Do you want to tell me the temperature at which the food is being cooked? For instance, meat. That temperature, the hot temperature itself, doesn't kill the worm?
It's not about the temperature here. It's about cooking the food properly. Like for instance, meat. You find like for instance, the whites, they normally love their meat half cooked. Even when you cut it, you'll see it's red on the inside and it has some type of blood. So we should make sure that our food has been properly cooked. Yes.
Right. That's the case.
Yes, and then you should cover your food properly, wash your hands when you go into the washroom and come out. So more of anything to do with hygiene, personal hygiene. Yes, and also the best one, make sure you deworm after every 6 months.
That's the biggest one.
Yes. Yeah.
You had to mention it.
Yes.
Coming back to the different ways of prevention, do you feel also if the parents now, the role at which the parents are supposed to make sure that they create a good environment and a clean environment for their kids,
Yes.
what do they supposed to do?
For the parents, I think they should be vigilant at home to know how the kids are playing outside, the type of kids, the type of friends the child maybe has, and to make sure if the child goes out to play, then when the child comes back, they have to wash their hands. They have to make sure their kids, after visiting the toilet, they wash their hands. They have to invigilate the child and also encourage the child to wash their hands every now and then. And even them as parents, when they're serving the kids food or like giving them fruits, they should make sure that they have been properly washed. Yes.
Right. The buck stops with the government in all this exercise, in all these moves that you guys are doing in making sure that the people out there and the children are so good in terms of their health.
Yes.
And you've mentioned about our environment, and walking around, you see we have open sewer lines, you know. Is that also a concern to you, that you feel the government also needs to add a hand inside the efforts that you make?
Yeah, it's actually a concern because in these sewages, you know, these are places where our kids also play, you know, and sewages harbor these eggs. So it's actually a concern, and it is something that should be addressed and looked into. Yeah.
Right. And do you think they are pulling up their socks, or it's something that you feel much has not been done?
I feel like they're trying. They're trying their best.
Right.
Yes.
But, you know, walking around here, you know, we might be fighting a battle that you're not winning simply because you may be given these tablets every 6 months. You go time in, time out, and you find out the cause at which brings about the worms is not even being sorted. How do you think it should be?
I feel like with the health education and self-awareness, we can actually tackle the battle really well. So it's more of self-awareness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, for children it's easy because however you nurture them, that is how they'll be. So if you encourage your kid to do something that is good, that is how they will grow up to be. Yeah.
Train your child in the way he should be.
Yes.
That's also in the Bible.
You see, yeah.
In the Quran also, I hope.
Probably.
Now, when we are talking about the issue of prevention here, there is need for much of awareness to be created that you mentioned here.
Yes.
Do you feel this information that you are relaying right now is out there and people get to know what's supposed to be done about deworming?
I believe by the time the deworming day comes, everybody will be aware because we have community health extension workers who move from household to household, giving health educations, and also community health volunteers giving health education to the households. And besides that, since we'll be training the teachers will also inform the children on the effect of worms before administering the drugs.
Right.
And also, like their diaries, they'll write in their diary so that when they go with the diary at home, the parents will get to know about this activity, as well as we'll have TV shows, radio shows, just to make people aware of the deworming campaign and also the effects of the worm and everything about it. Yes.
You know, I normally have a bone to chew with the public health officers and officers.
Yeah.
I think you normally wait for something to happen for you to act. For instance, now that you know you're looking to a week or so, you're supposed to be having this campaign and this exercise. And that's now when you're trying to communicate these issues, talk these issues about deworming. Do you feel like it's a process that's supposed to begin right from, you know, it's a continuous thing and not just wait until the day comes so that we can start now talking about this stuff?
Actually, just to correct you, we're not talking about it now. Like I said, we have community health volunteers. These community health volunteers, they're normally attached to households. So like in Changamwe, we have 347 health volunteers. Now these volunteers are normally attached to households. We have done mapping in Changamwe sub-county. Every CHV has 100 households. Now within these 100 households, they give health education. So they move from house to house, and they not just talk about, we talk about everything, malaria, dengue, we talk about diarrhea, we talk about deworming. They even work with dewormers sometimes in case maybe somebody in their households needs a dewormer, then they administer also.
Right.
So it's something that is ongoing, not that because we have the campaign, we're just emphasizing now since there's the campaign, but then it's something that is ongoing. Yes.
So it's not that you're waiting for time to get...
No.
Right. Now, for if there is a worried parent out there and he has heard of this, whatever you say concerning the woman, and thinks on how he can change his mentality or her mentality in terms of the approaches that he used to have concerning these drugs, what can you advise?
So what I can advise the parents is to allow the child to be given the deworming drug. And normally in cases whereby the parents refuses, we normally go there personally to talk to the parents just to convince them that this drug is safe. And alhamdulillah, like the parents, after talking to them, they normally accept because these are drugs we want to help our children. So eventually they normally accept. So, yeah.
Great. Right. Now, the exercise is supposed to begin when? 15?
Yeah, it's normally a one-day program, so it will be on 15th September 2021, actually 15th of this month, and it's a one-day program. So parents should make sure that on that day, their children should be in school, and maybe for the children that are maybe 2 years or 3 years and are not in school, they can actually take them to the nearest school for them to be dewormed. Yes.
There's somewhere you mentioned about it should not be administered to sick somebody or a kid who is not feeling well.
Yes.
Illness, which kind of illness exactly?
Any type of illness, whether this person has a headache, whether a stomach ache, if the teacher notices that the kid is unwell, like the kid is gloomy or maybe he has red eyes, he's not normal like he normally is during the school days, then the teacher should not administer the drug. Yeah.
We have cheeky kids, you know.
Yeah.
Can as well as pretend to be sick on that day.
Yes. And that is why we use the teachers, because the teachers know the children. You know, they know them when they're being cheeky or when they're lying. The teachers will know. So that is another reason why we're using the teachers, because they know the children. They know this child, when he's sick, this is how he reacts, and when he's okay, this is how he reacts. So that is why they're administering the drugs, to avoid such things.
Right.
Yeah.
Do the teachers themselves take the drugs?
The teachers.
The ones who are administered?
Our priority is the children.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I know in class, you know, for a teacher to teach you something, it should be, or rather serve as an example.
Yeah, so the teachers can demonstrate eating the drug and then also give them to the children.
So demonstration is allowed?
Yeah, it's allowed.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. And last but not least, if this issue about public health that you were mentioning to me earlier, do you feel like it's something that is supposed to be taken so seriously, particularly the time at which we are having COVID-19 now, and how difficult is it to kind of propel issues about public health, observance of different health issues here in the time at which we are having the pandemic?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
My question is, during the time at which we are having COVID-19 currently now,
yes,
and the duties and whatever you do as a public health officer,
yeah,
deworming, you know, different kind of diseases that you're talking about here, how hard is it, or rather how has it been during the time at which we have this pandemic?
Actually, it has been overwhelming because there's a lot at stake. You know, we have patients who have COVID, then you still have to check compliance in restaurants, you still have to check compliance in schools. So it has been overwhelming, but through teamwork and assigning different roles to different public health officers, we as Changamwe have been able to do quite a good job. That's what I can say. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel also people out there understanding and now beginning to understand the importance of creation of awareness in line with COVID-19?
Yes, people have actually, people are so much aware of COVID. People are taking more precautions other than the way last year things were. People are putting on masks, people are washing their hands. Even when you look at the facility records, even the diseases related to diarrhea have gone down, and this is because people are washing their hands. So besides COVID, us preventing ourselves from COVID, it has actually improved on other diseases too. Yeah.
Right. During the time at which you'll be administering these, the drugs.
Yes.
Are you also likely to kind of observe some of these protocols of the COVID-19?
Definitely, and that is why part of the training is, after training about deworming, there's the COVID part, just to remind the teachers on the extent of COVID, like the preventive measures and how to administer the drugs in relation to COVID compliances in line with it.
I'm trying to get to know how we do it here. You're not supposed to kind of, are you going to put on gloves or something?
They have to put on gloves, and they will be administering the drugs using a spoon, and physical distance should be in check also.
Spoon, like every kid with his own spoon or what?
No, just one spoon. Yeah, because they'll open their mouth and you'll drop the drug. Yeah.
Right. So no any sort of physical
contact. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is something that you're sure it will be done?
That is how it should be, and we'll be having supervisors on ground to make sure whatever is supposed to be done should be done. Yes.
Right. So you're hopeful like the exercise will be okay?
It will be okay, and it's not just the teachers. The teachers, yes, will be administering the drugs, but we have the CHUs that will be on ground to ensure that the activity goes on well, and whatever guidelines have been put are being followed. Yes.
Right. Very true. Now, for maybe somebody has listened to you right from the beginning. Now we're coming to the end. Where your office is located, if somebody needs some kind of advice, what can you say?
Okay, so if you need public health office, the main offices are at Portrees, just opposite Portrees Hospital. We have our sub-county offices. Then we also have facilities that have public health offices. We have Chani CPGH, we have an office there. Then we have Magongo MCM dispensary, we have our office there, and also Bokwale CDF, we have an office there. So we have different public health officers for the 5 wards. That is Portrees, Chani, Kipevu, Changamwe, and Airport Ward. Yes.
Right. Of course, we commend you for the job you're doing, and we're looking forward to look at how the exercise will go on.
Yes.
I believe we'll be coming to cover it up when the time comes.
Yes.
And we'll get the results that you're looking forward to have.
Yes, inshallah.
Positive ones.
Positive ones, definitely. Yes.
Welcome so much again.
Thank you so much, Adrak.
Thank you for your time too.
Thank you too.
Right, definitely that was whatever we are discussing this morning on the deworming exercise campaign, and you'll agree with me that up to now, you now know how important it is to deworm. Take this from us. It is quite important, and there is a need for you to deworm, either an adult or a child, be it of any age, beginning from 2 years and above. There is need for you to deworm. You never know. You can be healthful, or rather you can be so much good looking in terms of your health, but inside your body you're full of worms which are quite benefiting and eating you from inside, and there is need for you to take up these drugs so that you can deworm yourself. And if you so wish as well, you can get in touch with us, and of course we'll link you with them so that you can be prescribed with some of these drugs that you can use. But don't forget that children are supposed to be in schools on 15th, particularly during this exercise that we will be taking on. That is the deworming exercise campaign that will be happening in different schools countrywide. Is it public and private?
All schools.
All schools.
Even the ECDs that ziko huko vichochoroni, all of them will get the drugs.
Right.
Yes, even the orphanages. No school or no orphanage that has a good population of children will be left out.
Right.
Yes.
So no kid will be left out.
Exactly.
Very true. Good. Now you've heard it from her. Make sure your kid is at school. Make sure your brother or sister is at school to get that drug, and of course will help him or her to deworm. Thank you so much for your time. Remember, this is the kind of conversations that we normally have every single morning right here, and particularly every Wednesday. It matters about your health, and today we were discussing about the deworming exercise campaign, and I do believe you've taken up some few notes that will be quite of importance later on, that you can kind of retrieve and read more to understand on that. But of course, on behalf of everyone who made this program a success, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to you for having sat down to watch us. Those of you who have had to engage us, thank you so much as well. Those of you who have had to follow us on Diaspora via our YouTube channel and as well as on the website, we say thank you so much. Let's do this again tomorrow, same time. Have a blessed day, and don't forget, stay put on Boss TV, because we've got a lot lined up for you to make sure that you stay updated, educated, informed, entertained, and what have you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Utakubaliana nami kuwa wapenzi ambao hawajafanikiwa kubarikiwa na watoto wahangaika mno kabla ya kupata suluhu. Bisara na Sieku kutoka hapa Kenya na Hens kutoka Ujerumani wanatuelezea jinsi walivyonasuliwa bila panda shuka na mapito mengi.
Tulipokutana mara kwanza, yeye alikuwa anataka mtoto na pia mimi nilikuwa nataka. Kwa fight like 1 year hatukufanikiwa. Akaniambia the best way tuende kwa daktari tukaangaliwe. Tukakaa kuangalia tuende wapi, tukapata tukaambiwa tuende Makini.
I come from Germany, near Frankfurt. I'm very happy to stay here on this place, in Makini Clinic. My body is full with energy since I have the baby. I must say thank you to the doctors for Makini. And I will do the best for the life, for Sarah, my wife, and for my daughter Hannah.
Walikuja hapo wakiwa na matatizo ya kupata mtoto. Mama alikuwa na matatizo ya hormonal imbalance, na baada ya kupata matibabu ya hapa Makini Clinic, Mwenyezi Mungu amejalia na wameweza kupata baby girl. Ndio huyu, very beautiful, very healthy. Tunamshukuru sana Mwenyezi Mungu kwa miujiza yake.